Yo, what's up? My name is Patrouski. Welcome to my super quick and simple Ditto catching guide for beginners in PokeMMO. This guide is meant to be kept simple, stick to one strategy, and just get you guys making consistent Pokeyen as soon as possible. Ditto farming is amazing for all types of players because they have an extremely consistent price of around 5,000 Pokeyen a piece for any bad IV or any Ditto at all. Ditto farming should make you around 200,000 Pokeyen per hour long term. And the real money comes from catching better IV Dittos like 2x31 Dittos, or a Ditto with a good nature like an attack IV and an adamant nature boosting the attack. These are going to grant you way more Pokeyen than your little 5k Dittos. The fact that base price Dittos are just 5k is kind of just the icing on top and the consistency of the method. Now let's get into the 4 things you're going to need. Number 1, you're going to need a Smeargle with safety goggles, false swipe, spore, and then I recommend payday. The Smeargle does not need to have the best stats in the world. As you can see, mine is lax nature, but it is EV trained in attack and speed and is 20 plus attack and speed IVs. As long as you're not a minus attack nature, you should be okay. Next up, I recommend a Breloom or some sort of high level Pokemon in the back, just in case you run into a shiny to make it easier to catch them. Then other than that, you only need 2 types of Pokeballs. I recommend Dust Balls and Repeat Balls for this method. I'll show you why here in a quick sec. But let's go ahead and get to the location. You need to be over at Falabor Town in Hoenn. This is really one of the only locations you can catch Dittos consistently in PokeMMO. There is one other spot in Johto, but for this video, we're going to be focusing on this location. You want to head inside this house over here, which does require you to beat the Hoenn storyline before you can access this location. And then once you're inside, you can hop on your bike. You can see all of the other people also farming Dittos. You can go ahead and run back and forth until you encounter a Ditto. And once you find a Ditto, which I believe is around a 60% or so encounter rate, I can show you how the magic works. Now, we are using safety goggles so that when our Ditto transforms into us, he cannot put us to sleep with Spore in return. Otherwise, it makes the strategy infinitely more annoying. So here we go. We go ahead and false swipe him on turn 1. We Spore him on turn 2. We are speed tied there, so if he outspeeds you and goes for something like Spore, it's okay because of safety goggles. If he goes for false swipe, it's fine. It chips us down a little bit, but what are you going to do? You kind of duke it out and just see what happens. And there we go. So now we have him false swipe, asleep, and spore. This should increase Ditto's catch rate to the maximum. Now we want to head over to our Pokeballs and go for a Dust Ball. There's 15 Dust Balls here for an important reason, because you want to catch 15 Dittos before switching over to Repeat Balls. Repeat Balls have a mechanic where the more Pokemon you catch consecutively in a row, it increases its catch rate by 0.1. So it starts at a 1.0 catch rate, which is pretty terrible for the Pokeyen it costs. And then it gets up to a 2.5 times catch rate if you catch 15 Pokemon in a row. So if you catch 15 Dittos in a row and plan to be farming Dittos for quite a long time, it's the best thing to do is to start with 15 Dust Balls, catch 15 Dittos in a row, and then switch over to Repeat Balls. The only reason why is because Repeat Balls have the same catch rate at that point as Dust Balls inside the cave. However, they just save you 100 Pokeyen per Ditto, which can really add up over time. These are 1250 a piece versus Dust Balls being 1350. And in terms of catching Dittos, that's mostly it. Bam, you learned how to do it just now. You might want to payday some of the other Pokemon along the way, like the Loudreds and the Whismers, if your Smeargles are strong enough to do so, but otherwise, you could just catch Dittos and make decent Pokeyen per hour. It's important to keep in mind that the Dust Balls are not a 100% catch rate, the same with the Repeat Balls. From the studies that I've seen and from the research gathered by the community, it seems like it's around a 65 to 70% catch rate, but I usually have pretty good luck here, so maybe that's just a sort of anecdotal thing. I'm curious to see people's own catch rates in the comments down below. Let's head out of the cave and teach you guys how to sell Dittos now, because that is a little more complicated. Now, what I don't recommend you go do is go sell single Dittos on the GTL. You might ask, why, Patrouski? Why is that important? Because whenever you list a Pokemon on the GTL, if I were to go list this Ditto, it's going to cost me, if I list for 5,000 Pokeyen, it's going to cost me 1,000 Pokeyen just to list it. And there are tons of players in PokeMMO that need Dittos constantly. This is probably the hottest selling, fastest selling item in all of PokeMMO is Dittos. You might ask, why, Patrouski? It's because people need them for rare shunting at the end of the day, but that's a longer explanation. The best way to sell Dittos is to collect 60 of them, or even 30 of them. Some people will buy them in what's called half boxes, but if you collect 60 Dittos, you've collected what's called a Ditto box. Now, you can go sell that Ditto box over on my Discord, or in trade chat, or on different forums, or all across the community. If you head over to my Discord using the link in the description, you can go to a chat called the Ditto Box Trading Chat, where you can find posts like this. This person posts their IGN, they post the amount of Ditto boxes that they have, and then they quote their price. 300,000 Pokeyen per one Ditto box per 60 Dittos, or 320k mailed. What that means is you basically would send them your IGN, and you would basically mail them all the Dittos by going over to your PC and sort of doing this. You would right click, do this, mail, and you would copy paste their IGN and send it over to them. The reason why that costs 20,000 more is because you have to pay enough mailing fees to where it costs about 19,800 Pokeyen to actually mail them over. So you're just adding that into the cost. Ditto boxes are a fundamental reason of why you're able to make decent Pokeyen catching Dittos. So I cannot recommend you guys enough to make sure you sell them as Ditto boxes and not just on the GTL. It's really simple math. If you sell Shittos on the GTL, which is Shitto is a shit Ditto or a bad IV Ditto used for breeding, you're going to lose 60,000 Pokeyen of profit per Ditto box, per 60 Dittos. That's losing out on 1,000 Pokeyen for profit per Ditto, which is brutal when the balls to catch them are already so expensive. You're already spending about 2k Pokeyen probably per Ditto just catching them on the balls. And then next up, when it comes to good IV Dittos, it's the same as any other good IV Pokemon. I recommend my ultimate price checking guide if you aren't familiar. But I will say right now, unfortunately, as I'm recording, the 1x31 IV like Ditto market is not doing very well. As you can see, a 1x31 attack IV Ditto is less than 6,000 Pokeyen. If these actually are less than 6,000 Pokeyen by the time you're selling them, it's probably just better to include these in the boxes, I'd sadly say, because you're going to make more money. If you were to sell this for 5,500 Pokeyen, you're actually only making 4,500 after the listing fee. At that point, you'd rather just sell it in a box and you would actually make more profit by selling it to the breeders. However, the real money comes with things like 1x31 plus a good nature. So if we go over to like adamant 1x31, now you're at 30k Dittos. Go over to like 1x31 speed, now you're at 30k Dittos as well. 2x31 Dittos, now you're looking at 95k Pokeyen just for, 2x31 with the correct nature, stuff like that kind of carries on. So over time, you should end up catching around 2x31 Ditto every like hour and a half or so. It's a 1 out of 78 Pokemon catches on average before you see a 2x31. So those will really crank up your profits as well over the hours. And if you get a 3x or a 4x31 Ditto, that's when you're really in the money. When you get like a 4x31 Ditto that looks like this is extremely, extremely rare, keep in mind, but sometimes you will see them. I think 3x31s, if you farm Dittos long enough, most players will see a 3x31 Dittos. And this is about 150 to 180,000 Pokeyen, depending on the IV placements and nature, of course. But you guys get the gist. Hopefully this is a good, quick beginner guide to teach you guys the basics of Ditto farming and to get you guys into the cave and catching Dittos and making consistent profit as a new player in PokeMMO in the year 2025. I feel like consistent moneymakers are more important than ever with the market being a little bit slower at the current time. So thank you guys so much for watching. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Dislike if it wasn't helpful. Subscribe to the channel for daily PokeMMO videos every single day. Follow me on Twitch for streams Monday through Thursday at 12 p.m. ET. And if my guides and information are helpful enough to you and you can afford it, YouTube memberships, Twitch Primes, Twitch subs, and PayPal/Venmo do keep the lights on and allow me to do stuff like this. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. I'll see you guys later. Peace, Reno. Yo, Patrouski here, and I wanted to thank you personally for watching the video until the very end. I really, really appreciate that. And if your name is on this list, thank you to the moon and back because you allow me to even make these videos by supporting the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.